Hi guys, today's question again has to do with video game, basically um, being the DevOps person, engineer, team member who supports a video game company, right? Today's number is 216, I believe, or 215. So this is question DevOps SRE question 215 or 216. So the question today is a very interesting one, actually. I had to look it up. So if you are a DevOps team or a part of a DevOps team or architecture team and you're designing things for a video game company, likelihood is very high that the game servers are running in some kind of container pod. What happens if the pod crashes? That happens all the time. If that happens, if you don't do something about it, all those games running in that pod or 10 players or whatever, that's gone, and that's a horrible experience for a gamer. So how do you prevent this from happening, even though you know pods and nodes can crash anytime? What do you do? That's the question. If you want to think about the question and the answer, pause the video. In the meantime, I'll remind you to subscribe and like this video because that helps my channel a lot and it doesn't cost you anything at all. All right, back to the question. So I am a DevOps person or architecture or system designer for this problem to solve. What do I do? There are three parts to the solution. First of all, I have to keep the state of the video game somewhere else besides that node or pod, some kind of in-memory database of some sort where I'm keeping the current state as much as possible, as recent as possible, so that if the pod crashes, I can retrieve the state of the game really fast from another place. So it has to be in memory and cache or somewhere. That's number one. Number two, I also need to have some kind of session server. So when the client, the person playing the game, the computer playing the game, the computer of the person playing the game realizes something is off, I'm no longer connected to the server, where does it go? It goes to the session server and says, hey, something is off. I'm going to wait 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever the timeout is. And I'm then going to go to you and say, where is my game? Right? Where is my game? So that session server is going to say, oh, I know, your node crashed, your pod crashed, your server crashed. You're now on server number 913, whatever the pod number is, right? That's where you go ahead and connect to that. And that's where your game is. But it still doesn't solve a remnant problem, a third problem, which is, what if the snapshot or the state of the game was a little bit old? Maybe it was 2 seconds old or 5 seconds old or 20 seconds old. How do I get to the latest state of the game? This is where some kind of sync log or key log or some kind of retry log is saved. So besides the state of the game and the session server, I also need to keep track of all the little actions taken by the players that is not part of the latest snapshot that I have. So not only I give you a new server and I load that server or pod with the state that I had, but I also replay those actions that is not part of the state. So if you combine all these three things together, me as a gamer, when I disconnect from my server, I might see a blip, some kind of, I feel something funny but within maybe less than a second or 1 second or 2 seconds, I realize my game is back, right? Maybe I don't even see anything happening on my screen, but the game is uninterrupted for all practical purposes. So that's how, in a video game architecture design, you make sure your gamers are not interrupted just because your server or your pod crashed. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.